Alright, so this next lesson here, we're going to play around with picking up objects, in this case, a key, and having that trigger another thing to happen, in this case, a door opening. If we have our character go up to the door and we don't have the key, then it's not going to let us in. If we have that specific pickup, the code's going to recognize that and allow the door to open. So here in our level, you can see we have our dialog box from last time, we have our coins, we have Mario, and now we have a door here that we're playing around with, and we have a key over here that we're going to play around with. Now let me show you what this looks like. Alright, so if I go and hit the door, see it doesn't let me do it. It says the door's locked. The door's locked. I don't have the key. Whoops. Go and get the key. No, I'm not going to be able to. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, coin 0 now. Now if I take the key to the door. Cool. Very cool. Alright, so let's do this. Let me get rid of this stuff from before. Get rid of the key as well, and start from 0 here. So I have some assets that I'm using that I'm going to import. Let me see if I can find them. Keydoor sprites. So this sprite sheet here is some Super Mario World Bowser looking doors as well as the key on transparency. So I'm going to import that like we've done with all of our sprites. I'm going to go into the sprite. I'm going to set the texture group to 2D pixels unfiltered, like I've suggested for 8-bit style, kind of harsh edge looking graphics. We should set that to 2D pixels, otherwise things can get a little fuzzy. That's only if you want that look though. Alright, so let's extract these sprites. Right click, sprite actions, extract sprites. Recognizes them well. Right, there's a little bit of order misalignment here, so I'm going to just call this just key sprite. That's fine. Yep, key sprite. And then I'm going to sequentially select my door here. Right click all of those. We're going to make a flipbook out of this so we get some animation. Create flipbook. Let's just call this keydoor flipbook. Sounds good to me. Cool. Click it. It is animating way too fast. Let's slow it down a little bit. That seems good. Okay, we can close that down. Now we need to create 2 blueprints here. We need to create a blueprint for our door that detects if our character is interacting with it or not. And we need to create a blueprint for our key that allows the key to be collected by the player and stored as a variable in the code that the door will then recognize if we have or not. So let's start doing those things. Let's start with a key. So I'm going to create a blueprint here in content browser, add new, a blueprint class actor. Let's just call this key pickup underscore BP for blueprint. I'm going to open this up. Click on the default scene root up in the top left, add component. Let's just type in sprite, paper sprite. And we're just going to select the key here. On the right side, source sprite. What do we call it? I have a bunch of other stuff in here too, so let's search for it. key sprite 1. That sounds good. Alright, there it is. Now let's add a box collision here. So add component, take box, box collision. Let's size this box a little bit larger than the key itself. Maybe a little wider. There we go. That looks good to me. Alright. So now we got to program the code here. So let's go into the event graph of the key blueprint, and with box collision selected in your hierarchy in the top left, you just scroll down in the details panel as we've done before, and the second one down of these green pluses here, it says on component begin overlap. That's what we want. When we overlap that collision box, we want to pick it up. Okay? So this is where things can get a little tricky. So we need to define a variable that is going to basically be a true or false statement, otherwise known as a Boolean variable. It has two states. It's on or it's off. It's true or it's false. It's 0 or it's 1. And the way Unreal works is we need to reference those variables across different blueprints. And it can be a little tricky, but I'm going to walk you through that process. So let's go back to our level here, and if you click on your character, the 2D side-scroller character, and if you right-click on it, and you go to Edit 2D side-scroller character, or whatever you've renamed yours, I want you to create a new variable over on the left side. We're in the event graph, by the way, the event graph tab. Over on the right side of the variables, make a new variable, call it key, or whatever you want to call it. Then on the right side, variable type. By default, variables are Boolean variables in Unreal. So we're going to keep it that. We're going to keep it one of these red ones, a Boolean. And we want the default state to be off. So don't check this box. If you don't see this box, you need to compile it. Compile, and then you'll see this box. I already walked through this myself, so that's why I have some of these things done already. Alright, so now when we go back to the key blueprint, we're back in the key blueprint now, we're going to have to tell Unreal to go and get that key variable from the 2D side-scroller blueprint. And that's where things can be a little tricky. We're storing the key variable in the 2D side-scroller blueprint because it's the character that's accessing that by bumping into these other things like the coins and the key and the door and the toad and all those sorts of things. So let's start doing some stuff here. So pull off from this on component begin overlap, and we're going to type in cast to 2D side-scroller character. So casting is what Unreal uses to ask for variables between different blueprints. So we're going to ask the 2D side-scroller blueprint for its variables, in this case the key variable. Alright, connect this to other actor, to object. Now here's where it gets fun. We're going to drag off from this blue part right here on the cast, and we're going to type in key. And we're going to set a key. Now the only reason that this is here is because we defined the key in the 2D side-scroller blueprint. If we didn't put it there, this wouldn't be here. So we're going to set the key, because when we overlap that box, the collision box that's around the key, we want to set that Boolean variable from false to true. So set the key. And we want to tick the little box here, because we want to set it to true. Connect that up. And just to show you here, let me just put a print string here. Remember, these are debug things, prints to the screen, so we can test. So when I go and bump into this key, it should print to the screen if that's true or not. Before I do that, I have to go and put it in my level. So let's do that. Drag the key blueprint in, change the y-axis to 0, I guess is alright. Kind of floating a little bit in the air. Move it over a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, let's try it out. Run by Toad, he needs coins. Cool. And you can see in the top left of my screen here, right on the O of coins, it says true when I hit that key. So now what we need to do is we need to make the key disappear when we hit it. So Mario runs into the collision box with the key. It's going to set the Boolean variable for the key to true, meaning yes, we've picked it up. And then the key's going to disappear. We're going to hide it from the screen. We're going to turn off the collision so we can't pick it up again. And then we're going to be able to go over to our door and do things with that. Alright, so let's go back to the key pickup. We can get rid of this print string. I just wanted to show you. That's for debugging purposes. Let's drag out from here. Let's type in a node set actor to hidden, because I want to hide that key. Otherwise it doesn't look like I pick it up. Hiding it is very obvious. Yeah, he put it in his pocket. It's gone. So I want to toggle this little box right here, set hidden, because we want to turn on hidden. We want to hide it. I'm going to drag out from this node, set collision of the paper sprite. Yeah, set collision of the paper sprite. Or no, actually, my bad. Set collision enabled box, because the box is the thing that has the collision, not the sprite. And we're turning the collision off. Collision is on by default. That's what allows us to interact with it and run into it. When we hit it, it disappears. It hides the collision. Because even if things are hidden, you can still collide with invisible things. So you need to turn off both. All right. To jazz this up a little bit, why don't we add a 2D sound effect on? Play 2D sound. Cool. And I'm just going to pick from what I have available here. And that one's cool. Let's pick that. Alright, let's test it out. So run over, run past Toad. Ah, cool, it disappears. And I have it. I have no door to go to, though. We have to make the door. Alright, so that's the next step. Let me pull out of this and pause on it, allow you to see the whole thing. So we have our overlap box. What are we overlapping? We're overlapping the collision box that we made around the paper sprite of the key. Then we are asking Unreal to get a variable from the 2D side-scroller character that is called key. That's what's happening here. Where is this variable coming from? It's coming from the 2D side-scroller character. Then we are setting that variable to true when we collide with a collision box. We're also setting that actor hidden, so the paper sprite of the key is going to disappear. We're going to turn off the collision of the box collision, and then we're going to play the sound. All those things. Remember, all these things happen sequentially, but very, very quickly, instantaneously. Alright, I'm going to save. I'm going to go back to my level. Let's create a new blueprint. Content browser, add new, blueprint class, actor. Let's call this, I don't know, I'll call it key door. I think I already called it door last time. Key door BP. All right, let's click into that. Default scene root. Add component. Instead of sprite this time, since we have an animation here, a flipbook animation, let's type in flipbook, paper flipbook, and go to source flipbook on the right. What was this? Door flipbook. Key door flipbook. Cool. I'm going to set this to play rate 0 because by default I want it closed. In the code we will change the play rate so that it opens, but only after we meet some conditions. Okay. Let's do something else here. So we have a door. Why don't we created dialog boxes. Why don't I show you kind of a different way to create a dialog box? When we run into this door and it doesn't open, we assume that it's locked. But I'm going to give it another visual indicator with text above it just so the player understands that we need a key. And it's not just like a pretty decoration or something like that. So in paper flipbook, I'm going to go to add component. And I'm going to type in text. We want text render. I'm going to take a text render and raise it up. See, it's turned on its side a little bit here, so we need to rotate it. And we can use the spacebar to change the widgets. You can use them up here. You can use the W, E, and R keys to change the scale and rotation and translation. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to go over on the right side in the text box here and just type the door is locked. I'll move this over so it's kind of centered. That looks good. Sort of. Maybe a little more. Good. I'm also going to go into my materials here, and I'm going to change this material. And this is built into Unreal, so if you just type in text, unlit, I think. Unlit text will just be like pure white in this case. Otherwise, materials are lit by lights, and I don't want to have to deal with lighting this. So unlit text, 01. That should be all right. All right, cool. Save. Let's go back to the 2D side scroller game here, and let's place the door. We haven't implemented any of the code yet, but let's get it in our level at least. Actually, you know what? I'm going to place it down here just to get a size. Yeah, that's a good size. It's just comparing it to Mario. So my Mario is placed on... What is my Mario? My Mario is set to be -0.4, just so it's placed behind the platforms a little bit. So I want to make sure that the door is behind Mario, right? So I'm going to set mine to 0.05. If yours is different, maybe this is the alignment, this is the layering of the different things as they pass in front of each other. If you didn't do the right value for the door, then Mario's going to pass behind the door instead of in front of it, right? So let's put that here. Let's see, that's what this text is going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and play this and just show you. You know what, that door looks a little puny too. I'm gonna boost it up a little bit. 1.25. See how this looks. Yeah, that's better. That's good enough. You know, these are simple tutorials. Obviously, it's going to depend on what you want to do with it and how crazy you want to get with the different styling and graphics and all that stuff. You can go wild. I don't have time to go wild. That's on you. Alright, let's go back to the key door blueprint where we were and go to the event graph. And this is going to be a little bit of a longer one here. Oh, actually, you know what? Go back to the viewport, and we need to put a collision box around the paper flipbook. Yeah, collision box around the paper flipbook. So type in box, box collision, size this box collision to be appropriate for the door. That looks good. Cool. Now we can go to the event graph. So with box selected, just like we've done before, I want you to go over to the right side on the details, and we are going to get a begin overlap and an end overlap, the second and third ones. Okay, so we have both now, and we're going to use both. All right, so let's start some stuff to happen here. Let's drag out from here, and we want to get that reference to that key that is in the 2D side-scroller character. So I'm going to type in cast to a 2D side-scroller character. And again, this only pops up because we actually have something called 2D side-scroller character. So cast to 2D side-scroller character. I want you to drag off from the object. I'm going to get player character. Get player character. Whoops. Get player character. There we go. Okay, we're going to drag off from the blue here, and we're going to get that reference to the key. So get key. Get key. And we've done these before. This is where we're going to do a branch. A branch allows us to split a path, have a fork in a road for a true and a false. So what's going to happen here is our character walks up to the door, we overlap with that collision box. When that happens, the code is going to look if we have the key or not. If key is true, then this happens. If key is false, this happens. So go ahead and drag off from the key, type in branch, like tree branch. Connect these two up. And let's just do the false for right now. So drag off from false. Actually, before we do that, go back to your text render on the top left. By default, I want this to be off. So on the right side in the details, set this to hidden in game. All right. So the text is not going to be above the door initially, but we're going to have our character walk up to it. And when we walk up to the door, if we don't have the key, it's going to tell us the door is locked, rather than it always being there. It's a little bit more dynamic. So let's drag off from false, and all we need to do is just set that text render that says the door is locked to be visible, to not be hidden anymore. So set hidden actor in game. Actually, it knows that I have text render selected already, so if you don't have it selected, you can just do select hidden in game, and then drag the text render over from your components in the top left. Oops, actually that doesn't want to work. All right, never mind. So select text render in your components tab up top. Drag off from false. Type set hidden, and it's going to say set hidden in game parentheses text render. Do that. And clean it up a little bit. All right. So when we trigger that box, and the key is false still, we don't have the key, it's going to kick out to here, and it's going to set the text render to not be hidden anymore. By default, it's hidden, because we set that in the details panel. Remember, we went back, when we clicked on text render, we went into our details, and we set it to initially, by default, always be hidden in the game. To be hidden until it's told not to be. Alright, let's give that a shot. Play. We'll go up to the door. Cool. Tells us the door's locked. It never disappears, though. We can tackle that next. Let's go back to our door blueprint. And we're going to copy... Actually, we're going to copy all of this. So when we move out from the door, we stop overlapping with the box collision, right? We end overlapping. So when we end overlapping, I want the same thing to happen, except I want to set that text render telling us that the door's locked. I want to set it to hidden again. Okay? So let's try that. Door's locked. Cool, cool. If I move this to the side a little bit, you can actually see these things happen in the code. That's what I like about the Unreal here. So look what happens up top when I hit the door. You see it kick out that signal. It asks, do we have the key? Is key true? Yes or no? It's false. I don't have the key right now. So it kicks out and it sets the text, the door is locked, to not be hidden anymore. As soon as I move off of that, you're going to see down below in the code, the overlap box kicks out, the end overlap box kicks out a signal. And it sets that text render to be hidden again. All right, so what happens if we do have the key? The code for picking up the key is already done. We just need the door to do something with that information. Remember, we were using the print string to say true if we picked up the key. That's all that functionality is working. We're just not doing anything with it if it is true, which is what we're going to do right now by dragging out from this branch. So if that's true, we're going to start the animation. Set play rate. Set play rate for the paper flipbook. Set play rate paper flipbook. Because remember, we set it to 0, so it was just paused. We have that animation where the door opens up over, I think there's 4 sprites. So we're going to set that rate for that paper flipbook to its default, which is 1. Let's try it out. Bum, 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 bum. Nothing happens. Fail whale. All right. So this is where we debug things. Dun dun dun. Set the play rate to 0. Set the play rate to 0. Should be playing. Oh. I don't have the key, guys. Duh. The code's right. I'm just an idiot. Alright, let's go get the key. Bye, Toad. Got the key. Duh. Derp. Need to get key, guys. Duh. Alright, but the animation keeps playing, so I want it to get to the end of that animation and then stop again. So we're going to set the play rate back to 0. Now, what this play rate is going to depend on how long your paper flipbook is, what speed you're playing it at. You might have to finesse the numbers and do some trial and error. So I've already calculated this. So after the play rate, I'm going to have it delay for how long the animation is, which I've already determined to be 1.5. So it's going to start playing the flipbook, and then it's going to delay for 1.5 seconds before it does something else. The something else is going to set the play rate of the paper flipbook to be 0 again. And when that happens, I'm going to also turn the collision off on the box. So go select box on the left side, set collision enabled box. Turning the collision off so we can't hit it anymore. Alright, let's try this. Gotta get the key first, dummy. Got the key. And it pauses. And it can't be retriggered. Yeah, the win thing is from the coins. Should turn that off. Okay. So that's all working. Why don't we do something with it, like play a sound, I guess. Play sound, 2D. I don't know what sounds we have for doors. Sure. And so we open the door opens up, plays that sound. I was thinking, like, if you remember Super Mario World, everything goes dark and Mario goes into the door. That's the kind of the animation that happens. We can kind of simulate that with code. There's a node called start camera fade. You might have to uncheck the context sensitive box. Yeah, start camera fade. And grab onto the target for that, and you want to get player camera manager. Get player camera manager. And then let's try it. Get the key, jump on the platform, get the coins, door opens, sound plays, but we never fade. It's because I didn't put anything in there. Oh, one other thing. When we fade, we're also going to want to kill that widget for the coins. I can do that. You might also want to open a new level after the fade happens. That's a good transition to a different level. One thing I forgot to do in the fade was tell it how long it's going to be. I guess a second. And from 0 to 1. And what color? You don't have to have black, but I'm gonna do black. And hold when finished. I'm gonna check that box at the end. No, let's do a duration of 2. Yeah, because it takes 1.5 for the door to open, so let's fade at 2. Or let's end the fade at 2. Have it be black at 2. Let's drag off from here, and let's type, what do we want to type? Remove all widgets? Yeah. Now this is a pretty aggressive node here. This is going to kill any widget that you have on your screen, whether it's UI elements, in this case just the coin counter that I have. So be careful, you might not want to do that. Again, it depends on what you are doing. Let's try this. Go get that key. Ding. Get the coin. Here we go. Door. Sick. Look at that. Nice. So that's it. That's how we can get a pickup, in this case a key, to unlock a door. Doesn't have to be a door. It could be a platform. It could be the character saying, bring me the apple. Until you bring them the apple, the door is locked. Hey, I don't have an apple. And then when you bring them the apple, then they go on and move on to the next dialogue thing. Opening another area to a level, or telling you some other useful information about what to do next. And that's all up to you. What we've done here with this code can be leveraged in all sorts of different ways. We made the code for a pickup and setting conditions with the branch to recognize if it's true that our character has it or not, using a Boolean variable. And we also did a little bit different way of using dialog boxes, just by putting the text above the character. You could try that. There's 100 different ways to do the same thing. It's whatever you want to do aesthetically, and in this case, for these tutorials, the easiest way to do some things to get you started. All right? Hope that was useful.